Cleary said you were brutal.
I can be.
Well, it's been a long time, but we're back.
I mean, it's been less than a calendar year.
It has, exactly. And unlike normally, it's actually not really our fault this time.
No, that's very true.
You know, there was nowhere to record. What could we do? Good news is we've been spending the time watching lots of movies in the meantime.
Too many, one might say.
Yeah.
So as a bit of a catch-up on the year, as well as a final wrap-up, top 10, whatever, this might be a bit of a longer episode than usual, but it'll be sort of a year in review, themes, goods, bads, nudity, which apparently there's a lot of, as Sarah and her keen eye spotted. I guess, given the name of this podcast, we'll begin with the Irish films of the year, or, well, maybe not films, but yeah, the films that came out this year. If you want to ascribe order to them, you do it. So, the 5 we're discussing.
Yes. 5 we enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or did we? No, we largely did, I think. Black 47, Kissing Candies, Dublin Old School, Little Stranger, and A Mother Brings Her Son to be Shot. Brings her son out to be shot? How many words are in that title?
Yeah, I think it brings her son to be shot, but that is, I feel like you can't help but, throw a couple of words around, exactly.
Well, since we're already talking about that one, Sarah, talk about that one.
Yeah, so this is a documentary set in Derry, looking at, a mother who brings her son to be shot. It's quite... okay, obviously it's a documentary, so you don't literally see anyone getting shot, so don't have to worry about that. It's living in an area that is run by gangs who are kind of ostensibly there because of the troubles, but are essentially now seem to just be drug gangs who are going to get rid of the competition in any way possible. So it's just a really terrible story of this mother who essentially was told, your son is going to be killed if we don't kneecap him first.
Wow. Okay.
So she had to make this really horrible choice. It's an interesting documentary. It goes over a couple of, I think maybe 3 or 4 years to see how things are going on, but I suppose especially since the way that the year has gone now, it's very telling, that if Brexit goes the way it looks like it's going, things might even get a lot worse.
Before we started, Sarah was like, will this be too negative? I hope it won't be. Right out of the gate.
Yeah. There we go. Happy Brexit, everyone.
What a note to begin on.
Yeah.
Dublin Old School got a lot of press this year. Did you see it?
No.
Okay.
But I did see a lot of ads.
A lot of ads. It was very hyped and I haven't seen the stage play. You're more theatre than I am. Have you seen the stage play?
No.
That's fine. These are things you check before you start recording, fellow listeners.
Yeah.
It's quite good. I didn't love it. So it's Emmet Kirwan, based on his play about I don't know the lingo for cool kids, Dublin scene sesh person. It's all just techno and yokes, and I never knew yokes was the term until 2 years ago.
Drugs?
Yes.
What? Okay.
You didn't know either? Oh, thank God. So yeah, yokes is like MDMA or pills generally.
Okay.
I always assumed that's too stupid sounding of a word, but apparently that is the actual adopted lingo, is got any yokes, which sounds horrible in my vaguely D4 accent and isn't right, but anyway. So yeah, it's all about that scene and techno, and then his brother is an addict and sort of returns to the fold, and it's sort of one of those comments on fading youth and the slippery slope from being aggressively into partying and how that can lead you into addiction, and you need more in your life than just parties. And even though it does its best to make partying look amazing and the best thing you should do and get high all the time with your friends on beaches in Bray or in Wicklow, whatever it was, if there's one thing I didn't love about it, it's that this really works better in the stage play, is that Emmet Kirwan will occasionally lapse into the thing he's pretty well known for, which is his sort of spoken word poetry stuff, which I like in isolation. There's that one that came out around, was it For Appeal? I think it was. That was all. It was a short film that went through the round. That was really good. in a film context, to just
Okay,
every
yeah,
now and
yeah.
again, just drop into that feels
Yeah.
really awkward. And then at one point, he's with Shauna Kerslake, and then her character starts doing a voiceover, and it's like, what is this weird universe where everyone just has
Okay.
the same sort of register of spoken word poetry that they do in not even like external monologue, internal monologue that only they can hear, and
Okay.
it's distracting and weird, and it happens like 5 times too many. But aside from that, it is a very, I suppose, like quite loving portrayal of Dublin, even though it doesn't make it look like a particularly clean or nice city, but it does make it look like a fun place.
Okay.
I definitely didn't hate it, but I do think the spoken word stuff a little goes a long way, and there's way too much of it. And but again, that's just me being a Philistine, perhaps, who hates rap music and doesn't like poetry very much. Who knows?
Yeah. That kind of reminds me a bit of Sing Street, which I actually
Never saw for that very reason.
okay. Well, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think it is like a great musical, and like a lot of performances are really good. But what it reminds me in particular of is Jack Rayner plays the sort of older brother character.
Jack Rayner, the punching bag of this podcast.
Oh, now I feel bad for
Giant
bringing
baby
it up.
man on a horse. I've never forgotten that.
No, he does a great job in it, but his character is, I think, 21, and he's supposed to be like this kind of washed up, like he like, you know, went partied too hard in his youth, and now he has kind of nothing to show for it. You know, so it's basically he's passing on the mantle to his younger brother, being like, you know, you have to like go and live out your dreams like I didn't. And it's like, he's 21, like holy shit, how like bleak is Ireland that we like.
You're legally dead, but 22. Yeah. Wait, that film's only what, 2 years old?
Yeah.
How old is he in real life? Like 35?
Probably, but you
21.
know. Yeah.
Are we lacking so completely in younger actors? You have to use
Possibly,
the same 3 people. That's pretty bleak.
But yeah, it is pretty big. Other than that, you know, it's a good movie.
Speaking of the same 3 people, Donald Gleeson, Little Stranger.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, if memory serves, we both liked, but also then realised the ending is actually incredibly dark and kind of gross.
Yes.
But, okay, so spoilers in this one. It's a ghost story. End of the movie, a ghost killed someone, or do they? I think Lenny said in interviews, first name basis, Lenny, that in his mind there is a ghost. That sort of like more like a poltergeist, in that when Gleason's character was a kid, like his resentment and everything else sort of manifested in a thing that then stayed in the house, so that's what killed her in the end. I don't like that. That seems like too easy. I sort of prefer our one, which is that he just got drunk, went back to the house and pushed her off a staircase and then forgot about it.
I don't know. Well, I
Not
really
like it, but you know.
Yeah. Well, actually, I kind of really admired the film because it never like landed on one side or the other, which is actually quite rare. Like mostly, you know, a narrative will come down on the side of like realism or fantasy. But this like very much
works both ways.
Works both ways. And I actually really like the poltergeist interpretation because to me, like it's one of the first times I've anyway encountered the idea of the poltergeist being an expression of like toxic masculinity rather than like femaleness gone mad. And
That's
I think
very true, yeah.
And like, you know, like I think it's really nice to like finally have a story which actually doesn't in any way blame the women for what happens. So yeah.
So I just recall that was The Lodgers this year as well.
Might have been
Another Irish house ghost story. That one is a bit more. It doesn't blame the women, but it's definitely leans a bit more on the whole having the sex again, are we?
Okay.
Although that's a bit incest, so it's a bit.
Okay, well then.
Both sides are kind of gross in that one. But yeah, no, you're right. Actually, hadn't really thought about that. It is a rare one in that case. But yeah, the film itself I quite liked. I think Gothic horror
really liked it.
is sort of dead, and it never seems to make money, because I'm not sure if that made money. I'm going to assume it probably didn't, but
Probably
the
not,
last big one was probably Crimson Peak, and that failed horribly. So
Yeah.
people don't like Gothic horror anymore. Although Hill House did well, which you
Yeah.
you loved so much.
Oh, I loved it.
This is the
So
TV review
much.
section. I'm not going into it.
Yeah, let's stay away from that one. Actually, I would contend that possibly my favorite film of the year, Unsane, which didn't necessarily do that well either.
No.
But I would argue that is very much gothic horror. So maybe I can like expand on that thesis.
Now that you said that, I can see exactly what you mean. Yeah, like the aesthetic has just changed, but otherwise, yeah, that's all right. Cool, we'll get that later.
But we'll see.
Anything else on Little Stranger?
I kind of really admired how it sucked me into like being sort of bored, and then it was like, holy shit, it's not boring at all. Like there's long times where it's just, you know, focused on these people and doesn't really seem to be going anywhere. And then it sort of sucker punches you into like, oh yeah, it was going somewhere really dark.
So it's a reverse Mandy in your mind.
Yes. I think so.
Yeah, no, I quite like
boring.
It. Good boring. That won't be on the poster, but that's as close a thumbs up yet to hear, I suppose. I think one that you may have reviewed possibly twice before, I can't remember, Black 47.
Yeah.
We're kind of speeding through these, but there's a lot of politics to get through, so bear with us. Black 47, yes, so, because you saw this like, what, March?
Yeah.
And it came out here July, August?
I think
much
later. I think maybe September or something. Like it was,
you'll be right.
Yeah, a long time.
I've been informed by other people in the know that the version that like you would have seen, the version I would have seen, is different. And they'd finished special effects. So if some of it looked really bad in your version, that's since been fixed, kind of.
That's interesting. I mean, I really admired how much was like practical effects, and I thought it looked pretty decent. But maybe that's one place where I like have a very low bar for passing. I don't know.
Well, I've been told that it's mainly in the. Remember at the very start when he just comes home, and then it's the actual like title shot where you see the.
Yes.
I forget the name of that kind of building structure.
Okay.
The kind of plantation structure. There's a name for it. When you see those in the background, that's all CGI.
It's like all the thatched cottages, kind of.
Yeah. Kind of walled off plots of land. That's not real, obviously, because it's all gone. I remember watching it thinking that it looked a bit hokey, but apparently that was intentional. Like it was meant to look like a matte painting, which is fine. But matte paintings in live action compared to with real people walking into them look really over stylized and weird. It looked fine in like black and white when the actual title came up, but before that, like, this just looks really off. But apparently that was worse than the version you saw, so I don't know. I liked it. I didn't love it, which is probably true of every film I'm going to say today. It's probably my favorite Irish film of the year. No, it's not. Second favorite. We have the favorite second.
Right.
Because, you described it to me months ago as Taken, but the famine. I was instantly sold. And I don't disagree with that. I think I had it wrong. I assumed Hugo Weaving was the protagonist, which I guess he sort of is in a way.
Yeah.
If you take the English side.
Yes.
It's odd seeing an Irish film because it's in many ways it's very Irish. It's incredibly bleak. It doesn't really end happily ever after. No. But it is fun seeing them take a real historical context, and they didn't have to do much to make it more genre, but it does feel a bit more. People said Western. I'm not really sure I'd say Western, but
actually
like an 80s movie or something.
Yeah, I had a friend who likened it to Apocalypse Now.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought that's kind of quite an interesting, or I guess maybe Heart of Darkness might be better. But yeah, this, and I suppose that would be looking at it from the British point of view of just like, this movement into like this chaos that they have no idea what's actually waiting for them. Which I like. I would definitely. I think that's quite an interesting way of looking at it as well.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking, like, would it be not better, but like interesting to see it from the point of view of just English, where
maybe
the main character would just be almost like a Batman figure, just emerging from the shadows and killing people.
Yes, or even a Robin Hood.
Indeed, yes.
That's a terrible, hint for what's to come. But anyway,
so bad. I really did quite enjoy it. Like, when's the sequel coming out? We can't really do a sequel to that, and they certainly shouldn't, even though it made quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think there was. I saw Scannon put up the top 5 highest grossing Irish films. It was 4, I want to say, and like Damon and Ivor was 2, and that was upsetting to see. You didn't see Damon and Damo and Ivor, is that it?
I haven't, but I've kind of stayed away from it.
Apparently, it's the IFC or IFC. What's our classifications acronym?
Irish Film. Yeah.
Oh wow!
We're out of practice. Let's gloss over this.
What I was going to say was, like their actual advisory thing mentioned that it contains like severe stereotyping and stuff. So even there, like that's how bad it must be on that front that they had to put that advisory in there.
That's amazing.
It's pretty funny, but not good.
Okay.
Blackberry 7's pretty good. Watch that one.
Yeah, like maybe we could have like a 1916 movie next or something. I mean, you know.
I doubt they did that for a few years because RTE did that.
Yeah.
And no one liked it, apparently. So
Yeah,
they probably still
no,
need
I guess not.
that IP for the moment.
I don't know if it was like made like kind of a fictional version of it or something. I don't know, maybe it could work, or maybe even like some sort of, you know, not necessarily GPO kind of stuff, but like someone off to the side, what they're up to.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If it wasn't GPO focus would be good, because again, you can't replace Big Liam.
Yeah.
And what's his face is dead now, so you can't get him back for Dev either. What's his name? Oh my god.
Oh, Alan Rickman?
Alan Rickman. It's like, it's not Alan Cumming, he's alive. Alan Rickman, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
As you've seen, listeners, or heard rather, that our penchant for forgetting names is certainly not lost. Even the name of
we've been
IFCO.
practicing.
IFCO, that's what it's called.
Good.
Got there in the end. Yes, but to what I briefly alluded to, my actual favourite Irish film of the year is Kissing Candies, which it's another one of those, you know, like every Irish film is the same thing. That's very untrue. But they're always quite bleak social dramas about people in isolated communities feeling isolated in their communities. It's always like a small town or something. And this is, I think is it Drogheda, or it's somewhere like North Dublin that's very isolated. But the reason it stands out is because they just took that, not generic, but that sort of quite well trodden ground of here's someone who hates where they live and wants to escape to like a better life, and just portrayed it in a really artsy David Lynch kind of way.
Okay.
So it's just really weird. The visuals are very heightened and overly colourful, and the editing is odd, and it's more Waking Dream in terms of its narrative logic rather than actually like A to B coherent. And I mean, I love Lynch and all that kind of crap, so I really enjoyed it. And I think if you're going to keep telling that story, which I guess is a very relevant story, and it's one that it seems to be what gets made a lot, so obviously it's resonating, I'd like if they did just experiment more with the structure instead of doing another really bleak Irish small town drama, which most of them, let's be honest, are. And like, it is bleak, and the ending's pretty bleak, but it's weird and it's odd and it doesn't really feel real, so it's better, I guess. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was quite a nice surprise for the year, because again, the rest of the things on that list we just listed are all very realistic. They're all very down to earth. But even like Little Stranger, it's quite
I mean, it's got a
grounded
straightforward narrative.
Yeah.
To
but even like
a certain
stylistically,
extent.
as you said, there's no real ghost stuff in it. Like, it doesn't, like, obviously there is ghost stuff in it, but it's so grounded in a realistic aesthetic that it could be either way, whereas this one is very much, no, this is a heightened, weird, not real version of reality. And it's really, really good. That's our quick wrap up. Actually, so what's your favourite Irish film of the year?
I would say probably The Little Stranger.
You nearly said Black 47, and you changed your mind. Interesting. All right, yeah, good.
Yeah.
I mean, Lenny does make a lot of films.
Yeah.
That's out of the way. The other kind of catch-up thing to do now is first of all, I will give you the official top 5 Film Ireland films of the year, as voted for by all of our contributors. In fifth, sorry to bother you, 4, Hereditary, 3, Phantom Thread, that's the one I want to flag up, 2, First Reformed, and 1, You're Never Really Here. Now, Phantom Thread is not in either me or Sarah's top 10s because we've elected to ignore every Oscar film from last year, even though they came out here this year, because, I don't know, I just hate that thing, because it's always like, you get to American top 10s in a given year, and they're full of all these films, and then we don't get them until a year later, and then I just get like our top 10s look weird and back out of date because of it, so... I quite like Phantom Thread, Sarah, less so.
Yes.
So let's quickly discuss Oscar films from how would you word this? The 2018, sorry.
Yeah.
2018 Oscar films that only came out here in 2018, but are technically 2017 films.
Yes.
Extravaganza.
Catchy title.
The acronym will be unreadable. So that'll be mainly Phantom Thread. The list I wrote is not on the page that it was. Lady Bird, Shape of Water, and maybe 3 Billboards.
Yeah, sure. They're all movies.
They are certainly all movies.
We can say that for sure.
I guess starting Phantom Thread.
Yeah.
Sarah, why do you hate it? And why is Paul Thomas Anderson a bad man?
Yeah. So I think it's because I'm kind of sick of movies that use women's pretty harrowing experiences to like further a narrative about a man. Well, I feel like that always happens forever. But I think at the moment it's just kind of particularly frustrating because I guess there's like lip service being paid to the fact that like, no, women, you know, are people too. Women deserve to have their own stories. And yet we still have like so many stories that are just like worshipping like assholes because they're creative.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of that whole logic of, especially in a post-Elon Musk kind of world,
yes,
championing creatives over their shitty everything else. I'll agree with you on that one for sure. I think Phantom Thread, because we did discuss this before, thing lost to time.
Yes.
I really liked it when I saw it, and then we talked about it at length, and I was like, you know what, you're right. But I'm going to back around to liking it again now, even though I don't disagree with you on the politics of it. I just think, because I've never loved Anderson. I've always sort of admired him, but I've never liked most of the films because they're quite boring. But this one I got into because it has a very odd, off-kilter black sense of humor to it, where no jokes are really jokes. It's just... It's really deadpan, and I really got into the sort of the tone of it and that sort of wittiness, and also it has one of the best horror moments of the year with the ghost.
Yeah, the ghost that is good.
It was really genuinely creepy. And the performances are both really good. And even though I fully agree that it's weird and bad and abusive and messed up. And again, this isn't justified because it's a man that wrote it, but it's like, well, she has agency and she just uses it weirdly.
Yes.
To help him. Although, I don't know, it's a sadomasochistic thing. I'm not sure how to look at it or judge it. It's odd. It's a really odd film.
And I don't know, like, there's definitely been some very weird responses to it as well. You know, like, I saw someone, you know, like, I quite like their, you know, their views in general, but saying like, yeah, but at the end, you know, he's like, you know, he's poisoned by his wife. And that's, basically I suppose just to fill in any listeners, this movie, it's about this guy who is sort of gaslighting this woman, but eventually she decides to poison him, and they kind of end up in a symbiotic relationship where he enjoys depending on her when he's sick, and she enjoys poisoning him.
That's as concise as you can put it, I guess. Yes.
But like I heard people saying like, yeah, but for him, like, this is the ultimate, you know, the ultimate insult, the ultimate like nightmare. Imagine having to depend on a woman for something.
Oh God, Jesus, who said that? No, don't tell me.
I won't. So I suppose it's just this thing of like, I feel like a lot of the messages that are being taken from it are just, they make me feel sick. Make me feel poisoned.
Which is ironic.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Having said that, I know like what people extrapolate from movies doesn't necessarily mean that the movie itself is bad, but
well, it's that whole Wolf of Wall Street thing of just because a film is showing a person being shitty doesn't mean they're shitty. But then again, I think if you don't telegraph it or tell the audience how to feel about it, you get the Fight Club thing of people missing the point entirely and then championing the actual, like, the inverse of the message. So I'm on the fence on that one. Yeah,
personally with Wolf of Wall Street, I feel like it spends far too much time with like your main man and his buddies having a lot of fun. Yeah. And it's like, why do you want us to think these guys are fun, and why do you want us to think we might want to be friends with them? So that's where I'm like ambiguous about that movie. But,
whereas he's found on Thread, it's very much like, he's kind of funny to watch, but you'd hate to know him in real life, and he seems like a massive asshole.
Yeah, agreed. I just wish that they wouldn't make a movie about him. You know, there's more interesting people in the world. Anyway,
it's a very philosophical point, but you're not wrong. I guess kind of jump from that to Shape of Water, maybe, which I probably would have made my film of the year if we were including it this year, because I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. And I think we discussed this before off air at some point, that we both found, I think this was you anyway, or a different person that I've known for so long, that the early scene where you see her masturbating is like really off-putting for some reason, but then you're going to go, no, wait, why is it off-putting? That's actually really good. It's just really matter of fact, it's shown. It's like, that's realistic, and it normalizes human sexuality, and that's actually... It shouldn't be as odd as it is, but that's just be in a film, and yet here we are. It has to be in the fish sex movie. Yeah. I quite like overall how they depict her sexuality and just that she's just having a good time. There's no comeuppance. She gets killed in the end. Spoilers, but that's not because of having sex.
Does she?
Well,
Maybe?
I hate the ending. Actually, that's true. I choose to believe she died because I think it's
fair,
weird that she was a fish person the whole time and then she just was fine.
Yeah, and actually, if she is a fish person the whole time, that sort of implies that she kind of as a child she got like cut on her neck by like some sort of abuse.
Did they say what did it? I can't remember now.
Okay, maybe they don't, but I remember people being like, this sort of implies that like her being injured was for a good purpose, which is not a great message to give people, I don't think.
Maybe she had that same... Did you see Mute?
Yes.
Maybe she had the same
Oh my god, I
boating
forgot
incident.
Mute was this year. Wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. It wasn't no good. The Amish boating incident.
Yes.
That cost him his voice. Yeah. But... Because the other thing was when it won Best Picture, everyone was like, oh, such a generic, obvious choice. Like the film made by like the Mexican immigrant about the fish sex is the obvious choice for a Best Picture movie.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
No, I really liked it. I think its aesthetics are lovely. It's a warm hug of a film. A warm, slimy, scaly hug of a film. Doug Jones is great. He's always great though. She's great. I do think it's annoying that. Not annoying, but it's sort of unfortunate that she doesn't get to talk, and it's...
Yeah.
She gets in one scene of it, but...
This is the thing. Actually, like, one thing that I am a bit uncomfortable about is the fact that, like... So she doesn't talk, neither does her fish lover, and there's no real sense of them communicating in any way that we can understand.
Yeah, he seems to kind of half-learn sign language.
Yeah. But
that's
like,
about it.
They never seem to have any, like... things that they share in common beyond the fact that neither of them can talk.
Outside. Yeah, no, that's true.
And I did see people going kind of like, it's a little bit insulting. It's sort of like going like, you guys are both, blind. You should really hook up. It's like,
exactly.
Okay. So, yeah, I think...
even in the sort of inadvertent equation of, well, she has a disability, therefore she's basically a subhuman fish monster. It's like, okay.
This is like the unfortunate implications, I think.
Yeah, again, which aren't intentional. It mightn't even be there, but you can't... The coding is there if you're looking for it, and that's sort of unfortunate. But yeah, I still think it's a great movie. Even if it makes it differently able to appear like fish monsters.
Maybe we're all fish monsters in some ways.
Yep. That's a good note to end on.
Yes.
So the other two I have left here are Lady Bird and Three Billboards. Which would you like to go for first? We can breeze past Three Billboards.
Yeah, okay, let's breeze past Three Billboards.
It's all right. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it gets worse as it goes along.
I kind of hated every character. The narrative structure is really weird and bad and boring.
Yeah.
I've seen people argue that no, he doesn't get redeemed. Again, we're skipping the plot here. People must have seen this film by now. If they haven't, Sam Rockwell is a bad racist person who the narrative, I think, and I think you thought the same thing, the narrative sort of gives him some sense of redemption, even though he does nothing.
Yeah.
Just because poor white man. Oh, sad times.
Yeah. No, I saw a good argument, which I'm not even sure if it was about Three Billboards in particular, but it was essentially pointing out that like there's this view that suffering equals like being sorry for something. Like, yeah, sure, he suffers, he gets beaten up, like he has a miserable time, but he doesn't actually like apologize for anything. So
he doesn't stop being racist, and he doesn't. I don't think he actually apologizes to.
Not that
Kay
I remember.
London Jones' character, does he? He visits him in hospital, and then he's rightly worried he's going to attack him again. But I don't think he apologizes or does anything.
I mean, it's very hard for white men to apologize for things.
In America in 2018, this is a hard time in general for them.
So oppressed. So
like Frances McDormand's good, but again, I kind of hated her character.
Yeah,
I didn't like it very much. Again, it's not bad. Is it bad?
I think it's bad.
In the interest of balance, Sarah's saying it's bad, therefore I will say it's okay.
Okay, yes.
And then finally...
Now democracy has been done, we can move on.
Exactly, yes. That's how it works. Yeah. Lady Bird, which I think would also, if we were doing a quote-unquote real top 10, which included last year's Oscar films, it would probably be quite high on my list as well. I didn't think I'd like this, because I quite like Greta Gerwig. I don't mind Ara Saoirse. I can find her a bit obnoxious at times, but she's usually okay. And the subject matter of sort of artsy Californian teenager in the early noughties. I was like, this could be really insufferable and annoying. And I really liked it. I thought it was really charming and nice. And Chalamet was really irritating. But then again, I think that's just him in real life.
I was very glad when I realised that the movie wanted you to think he was irritating. Up until that moment, I was like, if we're supposed to be cheering for this asshole.
It's okay. This isn't Call Me By Your Name. It's all right. We don't have to like him this time. I didn't mind him Call Me By Your Name, actually, in hindsight. I just didn't like that film a whole lot. But yes, no, he was really obnoxiously irritating in this movie. But again, that was the point.
Yes.
I still think I can't get a gauge on what age he looks or is. Yeah, I know he's like his mid-20s by now, but he always looks either 16 or 40. And I don't know. He's an odd one.
Yeah, agreed.
He's like a weird ageless baby that just shows up. But yeah. Because again, Greta Gerwig made this film as a sort of vaguely autobiographical, not vaguely, I think it's quite autobiographical film. Again, when you hear writer, director, self-insert character, like, oh god, this is not going to go well. But again, it was lovely. And I think it's getting to the point where our generation can start looking back on what is almost 20 years ago now and kind of go, nostalgia. And it was, kind of cute seeing the computer room, the one big dial-up grey block of a computer. It is weird thinking that 2002 was that long ago, and that we're that old now. But yeah, it's odd seeing nostalgia for our own childhoods, opposed to just someone else's 80s childhood. But yeah, did you like it? Yeah,
I did. I liked it. I kind of wish it had been focused around Saoirse Ronan's friend instead, because I thought she was a nicer. Well, she was a nicer character, but I thought she was also just kind of more interesting. And I guess maybe this year I'm too focused on wanting to see nice people get stories. At times I found it hard to enjoy it because I just felt that Lady Bird was just annoying, and I don't know. There was some parts of the movie kind of annoyed me a bit. I remember someone pointing out that her first boyfriend coming out was sort of literally like a punchline, which is kind of unfortunate.
I actually totally forgot about that entire subplot. Yes. That was Lucas Hedges, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And then he was also in that conversion therapy movie, which is out soon. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Sorry, I was like free thinking here.
No, that's a good point, yeah. So I don't know, I felt like there was kind of a little bit of like, I don't know, just like, is it white feminism to just be like, someone else in my life is having a crisis of conscience, they're like dealing with their sexuality, but I'm upset, so, this movie should be about me.
I will say, I'm glad for the sake of, again, balance, that you are ragging on men and women. It's good.
Yes.
You see, people, this is what true inclusivity and intersectional commentary looks like. This woman here. Yes. No, I don't disagree with you. I think there's stuff in it that was problematic and that was, again, quite irritating. Saoirse Ronan, for all the praise she gets, I think she can lapse into irritating incredibly easily and incredibly quickly. And this one, I guess because the character is written that way, it's sort of hard to... Maybe it cancelled it out in my head that like the character is meant to be irritating and I find her irritating anyway, so I was like, this is fine. Yeah. I agree with you that everyone else around her almost is a more viable protagonist, where she's just this... There's no real hardship. Well, there's some hardship for her, but I felt so sorry for her mother, and I never felt like that was justified. There was no real justifiable comeuppance on Lady Bird's part for how much of an asshole she was to her mother. That's
a good point, actually.
It's sort of like Hereditary in some ways.
Yes. I like the way we're like dropping these little things in.
Yes, because our top 10 will be 5 seconds and done. We'll discuss all these already. So that's last year's Oscar films discussed. Was Call Me By Your Name in that list too? I guess it must have been. I think it must have been, Well, we definitely discussed that before.
We did, yeah.
We got comments.
We got in a lot of trouble.
From one Twitter person in particular, who I doubt listens anymore, but if they do, hello to you. So, Sarah, please regale us with your weird moments of the year, which my quotation is naked men at random.
Yes.
Or all of a sudden? What was it? One of those two.
Yes. Both of those things.
Sudden male nudity.
Yeah, sudden male nudity. I mean, I guess it's just sort of... Well, yeah, so the one that really kind of hit me... I probably should say that.
Slapped you in the face.
Was... the moment in Hereditary, people remember near the end, a naked man just appears in
He's like in the
his
background,
bedroom?
kind of. Or is there more than one? I think there's more than one, isn't there?
There is more than one, but it's the first one you see. And
Who's the first one you see? The one I'm thinking of is when she goes downstairs and there's the guy in the kitchen and kind of pans to him and he's like smiling and nodding.
That one.
Is that the first one? All right.
I think it is, yeah. And like as I'd been saying to you, Richard, before we started recording, that a lot of that film I found quite funny. I kind of thought it was supposed to be sort of a black comedy or something. But that was the moment where I was like, this is not funny anymore. I am so terrified right now. And yeah, then I was watching Roma just today, and not as terrifying a moment, but there is also just...
It is shocking and very sudden, yeah.
Just this guy, also in a bedroom, doing some sort of martial arts with like a big pole.
Not a euphemism.
Not a euphemism. And yeah, it's just another bizarre moment of male bedroom nudity.
I think that one's more bizarre because
maybe, yeah.
Well, it's much longer.
It is.
Again, no euphemism. The scene goes on for an extended period of time. I'm trying to say. And it keeps cutting back to her in the bed, just like bemusedly smiling. Like she has nothing to add to this conversation and just doesn't really know what to say, which is a nice mirroring of the audience, I feel. But it was odd. And it's a solid like 2 minutes, I want to say, of him just doing these weird lunges. And the actual... Everything I say is going to sound bad. The actual stick technique is quite impressive.
Yes.
But you're distracted by the fact that he's just naked and it's just weird. And I don't know why he's doing it. Because is that post-coitus or pre-coitus? Like, is he...
It's
I
hard
don't
to
know what's happening there.
Is there no coitus? Well, no, I guess there has
That
to
is
be.
the coitus.
But,
Oh, yeah, no, there has to be. Right. Plot reasons.
Plot reasons.
If someone hasn't seen Roma but knows vaguely what it is, it's making a very odd image of what that film is like. Don't say that with such enthusiasm. That was... Oh, yes. So the other trend that we sort of decided we talk about is, and this is so specific of a thing that it's kind of mad that there's 2 films in the space of, I think actually an American release is probably the same month almost, both featuring black characters using a white voice to, I don't know, screw over the system in some way. Yeah. But it's a major plot point in both movies. One is obviously Black Klansman, which is based sort of on a real thing, and the other is Sorry to Bother You, which is not based on anything, and it's just absolute insanity. But yeah, it's odd how specific that is. I don't really know what it says about anything. If it says anything about anything, maybe it doesn't. On a very basic level, yeah, sure, it makes sense that black voices feel so marginalized and ignored that they need to pretend to be white to get anything done. I think it's interesting that in both cases it is them using the white voice to sort of take down white hierarchies to some extent. Well, maybe not. Sorry to bother you so much. Although it's hard to really say what that's about. Yeah, no, I was kind of trying to tease it out myself today, and I was thinking, like, for me anyway, it's sort of it says a lot about the wider like aims of the movie. I feel like both times it's an attempt at kind of assimilation. So I mean, I guess that's what we were already saying. But the interesting thing is the assimilation totally works in Black Klansman, and it totally doesn't work in Sorry to Bother You. As in, they do both like sort of trick the people they're intending to trick, but in Sorry to Bother You, that leads to like much worse chaos. Like to put it very mild, yes, that's one word for it.
For my money, it's kind of sort of Boots Riley saying like assimilation will not work, or it might work, but it will lead to a much worse world.
That's also like Black Klansman. He uses that voice only on the phone, and then he's back to like his regular persona the rest of the time. Whereas Sorry to Bother You, the whole point is that he has to kind of keep using it, and it sort of destroys him, and like it ruins. That's the thing. Like, it ruins the relationship with Tessa Thompson. Whereas in Black Klansman, his relationship is fine. Yeah. And like it kind of leads into his wider shtick, which is like, I'm the good guy who's going to take the system down from the inside. Whereas, that does not happen in Sorry to Bother You whatsoever. No, I suppose it doesn't. But also, I think that leads into an interesting point, which is Black Klansman is another film which I thought I liked until I talked to you, and I went, oh wait, no. But you linked or retweeted a thing which I didn't actually realize was Boots Riley, but it was Boots Riley giving his sort of, I don't want to say takedown, but quite I think, well-argued, reasoned analysis of why BlacKkKlansman sort of failed, or maybe not fails, but it's the wrong time for it. It's the wrong message for America in this era. I can't fully remember the argument, but if you can, I'm throwing this to you now on the spot. Go for it.
Yes. Okay. So I think like one of its main points is that so it is based on an actual like autobiography. But I mean, it plays very fast and loose with some of the details.
Well, I guess to give some of the plot of BlacKkKlansman, it basically ends with him ending police racism.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah, that didn't happen. And wouldn't happen. Like that scene as it plays out is so fantastical.
Yeah,
like, it's so fabricated. It's almost like a fairy tale. Like it's so moralistic and obvious, and it's like a sitcom. It's terrible. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite similar to Three Billboards in that way. Like it is just like, you know, somehow kind of we managed to purge the police system of the racism. It's like, what, you kicked one guy out and you think it's solved?
Like the captain happened to hear it. Like it felt like Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like in an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, there's like everything just like slotted into place and was fine. The problem was solved. But yeah, sorry. Go on.
I'm trying to think. I think it was saying like that. That like the character that BlacKkKlansman's main character, that he was actually like sort of kind of quite clearly not trying to take the system down from the inside. Like I think he actually was involved in a lot of operations that were trying to take down Black Panther like operations. Like there was very little to suggest that he was actually trying to fight for Black civil rights in any sense.
Which the film like sort of skirts around, and it does make a clear line of division between the cops and the more kind of Black liberation movements. But the end, right at the point where it feels like it would have to address that, like in the second to last scene, where he's on the couch with her, and she says that you can't be a cop and also be for like Black liberation. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I can. And then it's like, no, you can't. And like at the point where you think that's going to have to now be teased out in some way, the film just kind of goes, whoa, look over here. Yeah. And then like ends. Like, okay.
That's it. And I mean, even the ending is like, let's skip 40 years or 50 years.
And the ending I do think is really powerful and really good. And I think the people that don't look at films the way we do or as critically as we do, I'm sure that film probably looks really empowering, really good. And I do think that ending is such a solid, well-timed gut punch that it's probably going to have the right effect, but it's sort of cheap compared to like what we're saying about the fact that because the real life guy, as you're saying, he didn't really care about that stuff, and even the operation itself apparently in real life wasn't as involved as the film shows. Like they just made some basically prank phone calls. There was no stopping a bombing. And what else happened in that film? They stop a bombing of a church or something like that. Well,
I mean, they also like take down David Duke.
Yeah.
I don't know that happened. There's also I think another criticism I think Boots Riley made is just that like, the film is kind of reverting back to that like tired old thing of like, racists are yokels, they're stupid, so therefore racism can easily be solved because we can just ignore stupid people, and that's not how racism in America works.
2016, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's just kind of letting everyday racism off the hook, and also implying that like that like the Klansmen got how they are just by being stupid. Like I mean, there's obviously lots of very intelligent people like like fostering this racism for decades. This isn't just like it's not just
a random
stupid
bunch
fun.
Of people. Yeah, no, exactly. If you're going to like run essentially a secret militia, you need to be smart. Like you couldn't just do that on a whim. So yeah, no, I agree with you. And also I think he made the point that it sort of goes quite soft on the cops. Yeah. Even though they are objectively a problem for Black people in America, or any people of color, really, anyone that isn't white, essentially.
Yeah.
And it very much not apologizes for them, but it's like, oh no, but they've hired some non-whites, therefore they're probably okay. It'll get fixed in the long run, even though it really didn't. Whereas Sorry to Bother You is much more. I think it's a messier film, but it's much more aggressive in its message and much more successful in having a coherent and I think more necessary one. Even though it's more about capitalism than necessarily racism.
Yeah, I feel like it does say a lot about racism maybe through capitalism.
Yeah. Like the commodification of like non-white bodies and stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, should we talk about
sorry
bodies since we're there?
Don't think we're going to talk about it in top 10, so yes, go for it.
Cool. Well, actually, what were your thoughts on Armie Hammer's character?
Okay, so first of all, let's just say, full spoilers, sorry to bother you. If you haven't seen it but intend to, like, stop listening, because there's stuff that the trailers really don't even hint towards that it's so weird and so just out of left field. It's kind of amazing, but you shouldn't know it going in, so just stop listening now. So Armie Hammer, this is probably my favorite use of him in a movie. Okay. This is the first time where I was like, oh, I get why people fancy him now. Like, I don't know what it was about him just being this horrible asshole. Okay. This, like, borderline Saturday morning cartoon villain. I was like, oh no, he's actually really funny and engaging and quite fun here. Because I don't hate him. I just find him sort of one note in a lot of films. Like, he's a very stoic. He is just a generic rich, handsome man. He's just what he is in real life. He's just sort of this vaguely charming, just slab of meat.
Less evil.
Hopefully less evil. I think he's okay in real life from what I understand. He seems like an alright person. But yeah, he was incredibly good fun in this. He was genuinely menacing, but also he made sense as like a charismatic evil CEO of a corporation that was selling slaves and stuff. It really worked. I really liked him in this.
Yeah, it actually, like, I was kind of thinking about it after seeing it, and like I've sort of somehow managed to convince myself that bad guys now have to be funny. And I think it's because, like, bad guys in real life are so cartoonish. Like, it's gone beyond the, like, you can't look at them anymore and actually take them seriously. So I feel like, sorry to bother you, it's very on point in that way. Like, I'm not sure that movie would make sense if it didn't have those comedic elements to them.
For sure, yeah.
I don't know, I guess, like, I don't know, even just his likability, I think that's really important to it as well, or at least enjoying seeing him on screen kind of thing.
I think you're right, though. It kind of has to be funny because, like, if you look at Elon Musk or Trump or whatever, like, they are all comical. Well, Trump is literally like an 80s film character. But the one thing I'll say is I think it's on this point that if anything, they're too competent. Yeah. Like, increasingly, especially like Elon Musk, who I think is sort of the de facto go-to evil capitalist template now. He's such an idiot. Like, it seems like he just really easily goes off on a whim into these, like, nonsensical rants, or he'll just build, what was it last week or this week, like a tunnel under LA, which is full of
why not?
I don't know what he's in. All that grime stuff. Like, it was weird. And Armie Hammer is, for the most part, hyper competent. He has a weird plan, but it seems to actually work in this film's universe, which is, I guess, to try and explain it, to turn people into, like, horse people. Like, imagine BoJack Horseman, but if it wasn't animated, like just a live action version of BoJack, but that's how he wants to turn people. It's mainly coded, like, it'll be non-white people that'll be turned into horse people as sort of highly efficient slave labor, but it's temporary. No, it wasn't temporary. It was temporary for the main character, wasn't it? Well, he'd be their Jesus. That was the idea.
Yeah, well, that's what Armie told him. So not necessarily.
You're
true.
Right. That's very so it's probably a permanent thing. But it's weird. But it's a really good film. I did like, even though, like, it has like 5 different messages and it goes off in so many different directions, and the whole Tessa Thompson subplot, which it's good and I like her a lot. She's in everything now, which is fine. She's great. But it does feel like a weird thing that's kind of left. Yeah. And doesn't really not necessarily doesn't get resolved, but it doesn't feel like it necessarily pays off properly or to completion.
Agreed. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about her because, like, I feel like one of the film's possible failings is sort of, it kind of does try to brush away feminism a bit. It sort of, suggests that, like, feminism is like slogans on, like, earrings and... I don't know. Okay. I think I'm being a bit harsh, but I also feel like
it's your trademark, so go for it.
That's it. I also feel like there's one woman in the movie. Do you know? Okay, sorry. There's one white woman who is like a secretary, or not even secretary. She has some sort of.
Yeah, no, you're right though. Like, it's basically one main character with, like, proper speaking role. I didn't even notice that.
So like,
That's
I just kind of feel like, and I remember like, actually Boots Riley like addressing the fact that there was like one female character in it, and I was kind of like, this is before I saw the movie, so I was kind of like, is this going to be the sort of the slight disappointing aspect of it for me? So I mean, it's not terrible, and actually I did think it was good that they did sort of imply like the fact that she disagrees with his plan, but like she's not necessarily actually doing anything to help either.
Yeah,
I think it was a fair point to make. And
I like that they did the thing whereby they were philosophically at odds, but they didn't stay together. Like most films would have it be like her, even actually Black Klansman does that, where it's the exact same dynamic. I think about it. It's the exact same dynamic, but they stay together, and it never addresses it. Whereas it's like, no, you're actively working against my more socialist goals. I'm leaving you. And I was like, all right, good job, movie.
Yeah.
Until the end, really. Kind of,
no,
whatever.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I wonder actually, what do you think about the end? I feel like that was that intentionally there to like be subverted? Do you think? I felt like it was sort of like too like convenient an ending of like, now we can go back to everything being normal.
I think the subversion is probably I think you're probably right that because it is a very happy ever after, and then suddenly not.
But having said that, I also feel like that's not necessarily doing enough either. But I felt like maybe that was what it was attempting to do.
I think given the plot as it is, I didn't know how they could end it. Okay, there was no point. If the film had just suddenly stopped, I wouldn't have found it any less satisfying, because it's just, there's no way to end that. Because you've basically started a new story once you bring the horse people into it.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole different universe at that point. Like that's a whole different dynamic for how that world now works. And they're never going to really address it in a way that feels satisfying. So a quick wrap up of everything's fine, psych, that's fine in my mind. I agree, like they doesn't necessarily do enough, but also I don't know what else they could have done without making it like 5 hours long. So this is fine. But again, I'm just so happy to be surprised by films, like narratively or whatever. So I was satisfied that it was sufficiently weird, and that I didn't know going in what was going to happen, because that was such like, the second you see that first horse person, I was like, what is actually happening right now? I don't understand what my eyes are seeing. This is so weird.
Very true.
So, skipping Hill House, motherhood as a horrifying thing it's probably a fairly common trope most years, but I feel the last 12 months it's been a lot. So Hill House, obviously, Hereditary, Tully, there was a few more. Mandy, not so much.
I suppose you could say Phantom Thread was all about like,
she was kind of mothering him, and
I mean there was also, wasn't it,
his mother.
His mother was the ghost.
Yes, of course, yeah. But I feel like Hereditary especially, which I think we'll discuss now because we're not going to discuss otherwise. Sure. Hereditary... Okay, so Hereditary, here's my major problem with Hereditary. I loved it up until the last 10 minutes. There's two bits. If you cut it... There's two things I want to cut out of that movie to make it like one of my favorite films of all time, probably. If you leave the last... how long? When he jumps out the window, so again, full spoilers, when he jumps out that window and like dies on the ground, and you see the lights around his body, if you cut the credits there, fine, skip all that payment nonsense, because that was just so weird. And I didn't find it funny or horrifying. I was just bored and confused and wanted to end. And if you cut out that one shot that shows inside, I forget the actress' name, Aunt Lydia from Handmaid's Tale, inside her house, which confirms that there is like objectively a cult, because otherwise it's all just inference and it's vagaries. And I think you could read the whole film as just kind of like Little Stranger. It works as either there's literally demon worshippers or this is all manifestations of her grief. And I much prefer that. I hate the fact that there's a confirmed actual supernatural element. I like it vague, so that annoyed me. But otherwise, I didn't find it funny at all. I found it deeply upsetting. I think when the little girl dies, it's the way it's done is so impressive. Like, because you see nothing, you see the head like 10 minutes later, like really briefly, but you see nothing. It's all the sound effects, and the build-up is so intense. And also, I think they did a good job in hiding the fact that she died so early. Yeah.
Actually, another film where they did a really good job of keeping spoilers away. Because
they, in hindsight, it was actually a very cheap trick, because the grandmother dies at the start. And any times like one of these ghost stories, you're always like, okay, someone has to die at the start, and then they haunt the rest of the film. So this was like, grandmother's dead. That's our ghost movie. Is it? So that's kind of cheap because it just means an extra 20 minutes of them going, here's a fake movie. Oh, here's the real movie.
Yeah.
But still, I think his reaction to her death is, I felt physically sick watching it. Like it's so good. It's so well done. It's so understated. It's so just awful because I don't know how you would react in real life to that.
Sure.
And
yeah.
his just catatonia is that a word?
Sounds good.
It's catatonic is the word.
Yeah.
It's catatonia, like the whatever. We have degrees. His catatonicness, whatever you want to say, is just so authentic and so believable, and so I think like that's how I'd react if I accidentally murdered my child sister in a car accident. With a pole, in a very convoluted series of events in hindsight. So yeah, I was not laughing. Although I will say there is one bit that almost made me laugh because it's inadvertently comedic editing, wherein Toni Collette finds the body and starts screaming and crying. And then they keep the same like sound going of her crying as they hard cut from the house to the funeral, which implies she's been crying for like 5 straight days,
right.
and that's kind of funny.
Yeah,
because that's just that's a comedic cut that you use in comedies. Aside from that, though, I did not laugh. Apart from the naked man, which was just so weird.
Yes,
I kind of snickered because what is that? What's happening? It should be my top 10, but just the ending compromises it so much in my mind that I kind of resent it for doing that. But otherwise, I would like Toni Collette to get nominated. She won't, because she's really good in it. Did you think that she was too over the top as well?
No, I thought, when she goes to the sort of grief counselling, the circle of people, like I was just like, holy shit, that's a
great scene. That's really well done.
It's, and like there's so much that goes on really early in the movie that I thought, if they could go in that direction, it would be so good. Like, quite early on, like her daughter is saying to her, like, what if you die? Who looks after me then? And I was like, holy shit, like I could get behind that movie 100%. That to me, like, that's, like really kind of poignant and just interesting thing to think about. Yeah, like, no, so I thought like some of the performances were great, and I found parts of it like funny, but I thought they were supposed to be funny.
They could well be, because most horrors, it seems to be that they almost always work as black comedies.
Yeah.
Like Psycho is really funny, and that's sort of intentional if you watch it like 2 or 3 times. So it could well be that it's meant to be funny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was trying to figure out for ages, like when the brother inadvertently kills his sister. I was going, is this movie a PSA? Because like it's just like don't go to
parties.
Yeah, don't go to parties and get high because you will murder your sister. Like there was just kind of these weird, I don't know, is it a tonal thing or just, there was just so much that went on in the movie. I was just kind of like, is this meant to be, what are they doing? I honestly wasn't sure what they were trying to do, and I guess I was just like laughing at it as a result.
You're making me reconsider bits of it, because I do recall when they get to the party, and I think, did they mention her allergies just before that?
Yes.
And they get to the party, and then there's like kind of this sort of hero shot of the cake, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
And it feels like a weird sitcom moment.
And I mean, like, honestly, it would have been enough for her to just like have an anaphylactic shock and die. They didn't need to ram her head into a pole.
I mean, it's not sexy as a dying of anaphylactic shock.
True.
Because doesn't it like just hard cut to her with a face full of cake at one point? Like, oh no!
Yeah. Exactly.
I guess the reason that was funny in my head is because you don't know she's going to die at that point. Like, you think she's going to be in the rest of the films.
No,
like,
you do.
This wacky character getting all that cake shouldn't be. Oh no, she's actually going to die from this.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I'm going to watch it again and see how I feel about it. But it's good. I still think it's really good, though.
No, I agree. Like, I think if they'd done it, if they had made some changes, it could have been quite a good movie. I saw like someone comparing it to the Babadook. And like they were suggesting like that Babadook is like coming to terms with like a sort of like an atheistic world where like death, it means nothing, and you have to coming to terms with the fact that like if a loved one is gone, that's it. And and then Hereditary in comparison, up until the end, could be viewed potentially similarly, but at the end it's like, no, your daughter died for a very specific creepy reason.
Yeah, we
And
put a
it's-
devil in your grandmother,
Yeah.
who then put it into you and then into your daughter.
Exactly, yeah. So it's this like really creepy deterministic world, which to me like conflicts completely with this idea that it's supposed to be about mental illness. Yeah, so it feels to me like this movie was trying to tell two stories that just don't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's why I think if they just left it vague and the mental illness or the grief, whatever you want to read it as, subplot is there to read, that's fine. As soon as they confirm one with her, it just takes all the kind of wind out of it. The other one in that sort of vague theme was Tully, but I'll get to that in the actual top 10s because I like that one a lot.
Okay.
Well, again, actually, it's sort of a piece with Hereditary in my mind that the ending, I don't want to say compromises it because it's actually very much the intended ending and it's telegraphed incredibly well up to that point.
Okay.
It just upset me and annoyed me that it was there because I actually felt like the characters. Like, oh, don't do that. So that's a pretty good thing, really. Was there anything else we at the top 10? I don't think so.
Yeah, no. I guess the one thing we were kind of going to talk about, but we might still talk about in our top 10 is sort of, you were saying the what's the term, like basically like dressing up like genre
Oh,
fair.
sorry, the trash thing. Yeah. So the highbrow trash.
Yes, highbrow trash.
So this actually came to my mind because I remember you described, or was it you? I don't know. I think it was to do with Black 47 anyway, that someone saw it and thought that it was a bit hokey, and then you said something like, no, you liked the fact that it was kind of intentionally kind of B-movie-ish. Does that sound like something you said or believe
I don't think
in?
it was,
okay,
but
right.
I could
Someone
get behind it.
Yeah, because that film to me did feel, well, like we were saying, it is based on a sort of 70s, 80s, not prestige picture kind of structure. Like it's a revenge story and it's a sort of a gritty exploitation movie. That's kind of more the genre. I mean, and there's a fair bit of that this year. I think Widows is probably the peak example in my mind of a film that, because it's based on like a Channel 4 series, and then there's an American remake, I think, with Jada Pinkett Smith, which in my mind means it's definitely trash. Like I love her, but it's trash. Whereas this was very much this is the Oscar film of the year. Like it's from the guy that made 12 Years a Slave. It's very serious, and yet it's sort of this trashy girl fight movie in points. And I enjoyed Widows, I did, but I wouldn't have minded if it leaned more into the trashier side. Because the scenes that worked the best in my mind were like the ones she goes, you saw it, did you?
Yeah.
When she goes like to buy the guns, and it's just sort of like, oh, I'll just use my fake Polish accent.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun. Like, if the whole film had that tone, like this is probably what it should be doing, opposed to this very po-faced nature.
You're right. Like, I kind of just thought it was strange the way, when they were going to buy the cars, the woman, like, she shows her ID, and I was like, okay, that's gonna come back later. It doesn't.
No.
I don't know. I don't know. I definitely felt like that movie was so much exposition that I did not care about. I just wanted, like, more action would have been much more enjoyable.
I actually thoroughly, once the heist got going, like the last half an hour or so, I think was great. And sort of in the same way, Ocean's 8 came out this year as well. Actually, Ocean's 8 is another lady heist movie, which I also really liked. And I think in both cases, I've seen this as a criticism of mainly Ocean's 8, but films generally. Actually, a lot of female-led films in recent years, like Force Awakens.
Well, there's a shocker.
Oh, Sarah. Like the whole Rey thing of she's too good and she's quite an narrative, it's fine. Same with Ocean's 8, where like the heist sort of has no real hurdles, and I don't mind that because I'm of a weird mindset whereby I kind of hate hurdles in screenplays because they feel artificial to me. In that for a fact, especially in the likes of a Star Wars, that it's a fucking Star Wars movie. Your protagonist is going to be basically Space Jesus and win. So any hurdles just seem like you're wasting my time.
Okay,
And similarly with like Ocean's 8, I prefer watching a heist movie go well because it's more like a kind of a Swiss clock thing of it's like a Rube Goldberg machine of seeing all the pieces on the place. Whereas if it goes wrong, it's like, well, this is whatever. And I thought Widows, again, the tension in my mind for Widows came from the fact that it was going so well that you kind of feel like movies require something to go wrong in this heist. So like, who's going to get killed, who's going to get shot, whatever. And it's fine. They kill a guy, but whatever. It's fine. Yeah. They all get away fine. Daniel Kaluuya shows up and then he takes it, then they get him back really easily. I really liked when she kills Liam Neeson. Spoilers, I suppose, again. Spoilers for everything. Just assume that going forward. that was a really satisfying moment. And the cinema I saw it in, some old woman, good woman yourself, and like started clapping. That's kind of sweet. She's a feminist too. We should all kill Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I should.
But yeah, so apart from the last 40 minutes though, when the heist sort of starts, I was liking it, but I was liking it more because I felt like I had to. And
sure, yeah.
Viola Davis is legitimately an incredible actress. Like, she's phenomenal. But by like the 6th time she saw her just crying on command, I was like, come on, please.
Yeah.
Really? Again? We get it. You can cry on command.
Yeah.
You don't got to do it every 5 seconds.
Yeah. No, I felt like so much of that movie was just like someone does something and then they like explain what they just did in case you forgot.
Yeah, sort of.
Like I just can't get over the fact that Liam Neeson, when he like makes his big reveal at the end, turns out he's not dead. He's like he says to Viola, he says like, I had to save me, only me. And it's like, I know, because I've just watched the movie.
I thought the same thing actually. Yeah. I remember that.
Like, to be honest, I'm kind of shocked that like everyone was up and excited about the screenplay. I thought that the script was pretty poor.
I don't disagree. I'm not surprised it got good reviews, but I'm surprised like the fawning, glowing praise it's getting. That's really shocking. It'll probably get a Best Picture nomination. I'm like, all right, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I know it's trying to be about modern America, and it's trying to be about like class disparity and whiteness and all that kind of stuff. But it's not.
It isn't.
There's one quite well done shot, but it feels out of place when Colin Farrell gets in his car and then it holds on the outside of the car.
Yes, I really like that. Yeah,
I like it in isolation. I think it has no place in that film, and it adds nothing whatever subtext they're going for.
Absolutely. No, I actually thought that the one part of the movie I found very interesting was Colin Farrell's character, because I couldn't figure out what his motivation was. I couldn't figure out, well, did he think what he was doing?
Sad and bored.
He did, yeah. But I mean, he also...
I was white man for privileged life.
This is the thing. But I also think at times it seemed like he was genuinely thought he was going to make a difference with his... Like he was kind of setting up... he's a politician, and he's setting up these like business ideas for like minority women, so that they can, I guess, have their own livelihoods. But like, for me, the movie kind of doesn't quite say whether he's like just in it for corrupt reasons, or does he actually think this might work? Does he actually care about these women in some way? That to me, that was quite interesting. I wanted to see that movie a lot more than I wanted to see a lot of the rest of the movie.
I do feel bad that we're kind of saying that it'd be great if the white male character was the protagonist in this film full of women,
but it's
non-white women.
It's fine for me to say this the one time ever.
I know, but I feel bad agreeing with you. It's fine.
It's fine.
Because again, like every time there's a moment when it got a bit trashy, I was like, all right. Because remember when Viola Davis and what's her name? I can never remember her name. Debonecki.
Oh yeah, is it Eliza or something?
Yeah, lady that I think was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Anyway, when they're just like slapping each other, that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
it was like it feels like it's in the wrong movie.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, like Daniel Kaluuya was great. Like,
he was fantastic.
Another
again,
person,
different film, but yeah.
But like another thing that would have been much more interesting if they just focused on him. I mean, it was really
we saved
viscerally just like so hard to watch, but yeah, very interesting.
Like his scene where he kills the rapping guys.
Yes,
fantastic, great, really intense. He's very scary in that scene. Good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, Widows, not in our top 10. What was this? Oh yeah, this is the trashy thing, right? So Black 7 Widows. I'm going to throw in Venom here purely because I think everyone assumed from the trailers and from the fact that Venom is such a 90s character that film was going to be ultimate grimdark, horrible, super violent, super like bro-esque. Did you see Venom?
No.
Okay. But in the end, it's a weird buddy cop movie where they're both losers, and Venom's whole motivation for staying with Eddie Brock is that you're a loser like me, let's be losers together. Okay. Like, that's such a weird message for this movie to have. Like, this is not what the marketing implied at all. And it's much more of a comedy than it came across as. But then again, they clearly cut out so much that made it much more of a comedy, so it's still trying to be a sort of quote-unquote serious film. And it's a mess. Like, it's an absolute mess of a film. It's not unenjoyable, but it's not for the right reasons. But I still think it's odd that it's very much marketed as a Zack Snyder-esque superhero serious movie, and yet it's actually just pure trash.
Okay. It sounds a little bit, just from that description, a bit like Mute, but maybe I'm completely wrong.
Because the other film that it is like, did you see Upgrade? Upgrade is nearly the exact same plot setup, and the main actor in it is that guy from Prometheus that looks like Tom Hardy. Okay. So they're basically the same film. It's weird. Because Upgrade's about a guy that he gets paralyzed in a car accident and then gets given like a microchip, which makes him part robot man.
Yeah, no, sorry, I've seen like scenes from it, but I've never seen it.
It's worth a look, it's good fun. But obviously there's a voice in his head then from the robot chip, so it is just Venom again, except it's much better. And also isn't a franchise, so it can have a proper dark ending where it all goes wrong. But yeah, so it's odd that those two, and then Mute to a point also felt tonally odd. I didn't like Mute; it was very boring. But yeah, it had little elements where it just felt too exploitation-y or too like from a worse, cheaper film, and yet it was this expensive-looking, quote-unquote serious movie, which was very boring.
Yeah.
Even just the fact that like he was an Amish character in Blade Runner, like what? How does that work?
Yeah.
How does an Amish man survive like a techno future?
Yeah, that's a great point.
After his boating accident.
Yeah.
His electric boating accident. Did you see Suspiria?
No, I haven't. I've actually never seen the first one, so The
first one is definitely trash, but the first one is unashamedly wonderful trash. The new one, again, like Widows, because again, it's based on something from a while ago, and yet the new one, the trailers and the fact that it's, what's his face, that did, call it by your name, Luca, that guy.
Yes.
Him, you know him, you know some names.
That's it.
Him. It's him, so it had this very... Because I remember everyone's like, oh, they're making Suspiria again, why bother? And the trailer came out and everyone was like, oh, this actually looks really good. And Tilda Swinton's playing 3 characters, because of course she has to be playing 3 characters, Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
And then it came out and I sort of feel the same as I do about Widows, in that I admire it. I think it's a very like handsomely put together movie. I prefer Suspiria to Widows. It's visually a lot more interesting and better score. And do you have it there, Sarah? Is that?
Luca Guadagnino? I do not know how to pronounce it.
No, it's a lot of syllables. Guadagnino? Guadagnino. Oh, God. The Call Me By Your Name guy. Him.
Yeah.
Because again, near the end of Suspiria, it's just someone walking around, like everyone's heads is exploding, and there's like Tom York music playing over it, and it is just nonsense. It's wonderful nonsense. But again, I'm not baffled, but I'm intrigued by this thing this year of all these films which are really quite trashy at heart, just being like, no, look at us, give us Oscars. Like the one inverted, I almost say, is Annihilation. In that Annihilation is, it looked like a more of a trashy film in that it's 4 girls on a science scene with guns shooting aliens, and it's like, no, it's actually this very slow burn, introspective, sort of emotional relationship thing, and it's really good. And very serious, and should have gotten more attention, but everyone forgot about it because it didn't get released here. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple actually that I wouldn't mind adding to that list. And one is actually, I won't say much more about it, but actually I think Hereditary kind of, I think, goes in there. Because I did actually see someone pointing out that A24, which I think is they've also made like The Witch, and they've made a few other horrors, which I think have all been kind of accused of being sort of like, what would you call it? Like kind of like build your own horror. Like,
are you trying to say boring film, Sarah?
I don't know if I am, but like basically it's trying to make a high class horror, but sort of, I guess, maybe using the same basic tropes over and over again. Like I wouldn't necessarily, like I love The Witch. I wouldn't agree with it in that instance, but I do kind of feel like maybe we are getting to a point where we're kind of like, people are like, we want to make a high class horror movie. So like, what ingredients do we need to put into that? And I feel like that is maybe what happened with Hereditary.
Maybe. I think this happened every few years where horror gets some kind of renaissance, and then it's all like, okay, what's the most critically well-received horror we can make? Let's do that. And you get weird stuff like Hereditary. Because I know Hereditary, when it first got traction, I think it was after Sundance. I forget, it won the festival anyway. it was very much of the mind that, oh, this is the scariest serious horror film, and then it came out and, well, it's good and it's scary, but it's also kind of really weird and silly, and that shot of Gabriel Byrne is on fire always makes me laugh when I see it in stills. I don't know why. Just the way he just lights up is really amusing.
Yeah, I love. Actually, I remember someone pointing out Gabriel Byrne burns in this movie. So it's kind of great.
Yeah, no, I think Hereditary is a fair inclusion on that list. I know you want to include Mandy in there as well. Which I think we can discuss Mandy now. Why not? For the record, I loved it, but I don't disagree with your criticisms because I saw it in the cinema and I have bought the Blu-ray, but I know I'll probably never watch that Blu-ray. It's like the second Blade Runner in that it's something that I think is like visually really stunning and like great use of sound, whatever. You can't really watch it in anything but a cinema because if you're at home, you will stop. You will pause it. You will leave the room.
Sure.
You cannot pay attention. If you're in a cinema, you have to watch it, and that's fine. Because I agree with you that it is objectively kind of a boring film for the first hour or so. But it looks great.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I guess it, like, to me, it kind of feels like it's trying to, like. Well, I'm not really sure what it is trying to do. My guess would be it's trying to, like, kind of present what an acid trip would be like. But I feel like it doesn't do it to any higher reason other than like this is probably what it would be like. Yeah. Which I mean, not necessarily a bad thing. No. But I guess it just sort of like seems a bit pointless because you could just take acid if you really wanted to.
It does feel like it's a film that makes pains to take the longest, most circuitous route possible to just get into Nicolas Cage chainsaw fighting people. Yeah. Like, it feels like you could have made a much shorter, sillier film about that, where it's just like, no, here is the really long build-up, and eventually it'll explode and go nuts. And I kind of prefer it for taking its time before it went nuts, but I do see what you're saying and not necessarily disagree, because it is... I don't know if I'd say it's trying to pretend it's not trash, because it knows it's trash. I think it's, if anything, going the other end where it's overly embracing it and like it's screaming the word trash. Like the way it keeps going with like the animated side story things, the fact that the actual title doesn't go for over an hour into it and it's this big overblown animated thing screaming at the screen at you. I think it's just like, no, we're going to make the weirdest version of this trash film you could possibly imagine. I don't think it's trying to be anything but that, but it is... Which I guess is sort of back around again, because it was trying so hard to make sure it's trash, it's therefore no longer trash, and it is sort of prestige. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. It's a weird movie, but I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, it had me thinking quite a lot about, like, I guess there is the theory that, like, deaths of wives and girlfriends, they're kind of there to, like, give men an opportunity to go violent themselves. But I found Mandy quite interesting because I feel like it also sort of implies, and I don't think it intended to, or maybe it did, that men also need like their wives to die in order to be emotional.
I think that's not an unfair reading.
Because like it does feel like the whole movie is, as much as it's building up to like chainsaw fight, I think it's also building up to like Nicolas Cage doing his batshit being crazy routine. And like I actually feel like that's kind of similar in You Were Never Really Here, maybe. Not necessarily batshit, but like it's sort of like they need all this violence to go down so that men can be touch each other.
Yeah, so their emotions don't seem tainted with femininity because they've been birthed in blood.
Yes, I think so. So
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Because Mandy, they very much make it clear that she is a weird sort of... She's not a person. She's a soothing presence. Yeah, that's why she wants to kidnap her.
Yeah, even like her voice is, just kind of there. Yeah.
She looks like an alien. Like she just... Yeah. I'm not sure if she always looks like that in every movie she's in, but just her eyes looked huge and the kind of slender frame. And she just looked like a weird doll that just exuded peace, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm trying to remember, did I actually at the time think of, the Mr. Burns I Bring You Love? I just thought it now, But I'm thinking it now either way.
That's essentially what she is, yeah. And then as soon as she's killed, Nick Cage starts screaming in bathrooms and taking cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right with that. I think the one difference I'd say about Never Really Here is that that's a much less... Like, Mandy is a celebration of him going fucking nuts. Whereas Never Really Here is very much a, no, this is a bad path to be on if
Yeah,
you're a man, and
yeah.
this is not going to end well.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that in a minute, though. I think that's probably enough preamble. Let's do the top tens. So what we're going to do is we're going to just give our sort of honorable mentions in list form, and then we'll give our top tens, but we won't keep you here for hours. We'll discuss maybe 3 each. Just give like a one-line summary of the good ones. Okay, so I'll quickly just do my honorable mentions, and then you can do yours.
Mm-hmm.
So, one you love, Game Night, Annihilation. Don't judge me. Hereditary, for previous reasons, is not in the top 10. Thoroughbreds, which was quite good.
Ooh,
American
yeah, I
Animals, Suspiria, and Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse was really good. Everyone should watch that one.
I wish I had seen it for this podcast. So
It's not necessarily worth discussing, but it is definitely like it's gorgeous looking and it's fun and it's nice and it's also a nice hook of a film without the slime.
Cool. So I don't have as many honorable mentions because I'm a mean person. But yeah, I'm gonna Annihilation's in there. Black Panther. And I think Halloween.
Oh my god! Yeah,
2018.
Sorry, Halloween should be mine too. I love Halloween.
Yeah. Good. Like I feel like it had too much like extraneous stuff that was kind of annoying, but the central plot was very interesting and well done. So. And
actually, that was what I was feeling. That's the other sort of Motherhood is horror thing of the year.
Great point. Yeah.
It's a fun, horrible time for her. Yeah. Okay, so top tens. I don't have mine any kind of order. My number one of the year is never really here, obviously, but the other 2 through 10 are miscellaneous. So I will just quickly name the ones I'm not discussing, which are Roma, which I think everyone at this point knows what it is. It's kind of this year's Phantom Thread, I suppose. Well, Phantom Thread's also this year's Phantom Thread, but it's the other Phantom Thread in that it's something that I didn't necessarily love, but I really appreciate the craftsmanship in it.
Yeah, it's very well
thoroughly impressive
shot
to look at. And that central performance from her is incredible, and I hope she gets every award possible. She won't, but she should. Sorry to Bother You, which we discussed at length already. It's great. It's weird. You should watch it. Cam, which is the first of 2 Netflix films in my top 10, which is, you see Cam?
No.
Cam is, I'm not sure if it's actually made by a former sex worker or written by one. I think she definitely gave the storyline for it. I'm not sure if she directed it or not. But it's about webcamming, and it's a very sex positive film, and it's also a really good horror movie, and it's the best it has a sequence in it which is the only time I've seen like a modern version do that whole the calls inside the house thing, but via new media, and it's kind of hard to describe how they do it, but it's really clever and interesting and genuinely unnerving to look at until it happens. Right, second Netflix top 10 entry, The Night Comes For Us, which was, I don't think it's from the same people that made The Raid, but it's starring some of them. It's 2 hours. It is one of the goriest films I have ever seen. The martial arts is incredible. It's stunning. It's also a film that made me feel like vomiting because it's just that disgusting in the levels of grotesque violence it goes to. But holy shit, is it amazing. I don't know if that's a real martial art. I think it is. If it is, it's scary if that exists. I don't like knowing that it exists in the world somewhere. People can just do that to each other. But it's great.
Amazing. Is it Ezekiel Weiss in it? Like the main character from The Raid?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay.
He's not quite the main character in this one, but he's like the second main or something.
Great.
But
that's on my to watch list for Christmas.
Pretty
so
good.
Yeah.
It's not really a Christmas one, but you do you. Okay, Mandy, discussed already. Upgrade, discussed already. The good version of Venom, and Mission Impossible Fallout, which I don't. At one point, I felt shame having on my list because, like, it's a Mission Impossible movie. 2, it's an action film. And 3, it's a Tom Cruise film. I know we all have to hate Tom Cruise, for good reason. He's the head of a cult, dangerous cult, does bad things. But holy God, have you seen those films and what he does to himself? Like, he very nearly died several times in this one, and it's going to happen one of these days. And it's just a really good film.
You kind of have to admire his dedication.
Or Death Wish, whichever it is. Like, they let him stunt fly a helicopter in this one. He could have crashed any number of mountains. It is to my mind this year's Fury Road. Like, it's all practical. It's just really impressive action filmmaking, and it's so good. All right, Sarah, give me your quick rundown of your 7.
Okay. So we talked about some already. I'll kind of go from I kind of have 2 sections. Like, one is my top 5, and then
Oh yeah, go for it. Yeah.
My bottom 5 of 10. So as we talked already about, mother brings her son to be shot. I also, I said this to you earlier. This is sort of a begrudging one. I put in Avengers: Infinity War, which
it's really surprising you did that.
It is, and you see, I think for my bottom 5, I had to sort of go with what are the movies that like have stuck with me, and Avengers, like it did come out of left of field for me because
the biggest film of the year, most expensive films of all time, came out of nowhere.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of being impressed by it, because like it spans such a huge cast, I think they did manage to rein it in really well. Like it's very well told. Like I think the actual the narrative itself not that great. But I really admire, like, I thought it was just incredibly coherent.
I fully agree. Like, the more I thought about it, because I watched it again on like home media, and I was assuming in my head that kind of like Mandy and stuff that it works fine in cinema, but the second you're at home, you get bored and get distracted because it isn't like you're saying. The story it's a half an hour long story told over maybe 3 hours because there's so many scenes of people just talking about stuff and setting up stuff. But even on like home media, it still worked. Now that's surprising. Like it is. If nothing else, it's a feat of editing. Yeah, I think, or structure or something. Like it doesn't really work as a film on its own. It has to be seen as like a season finale to everything else. But I agree with you. It is impressive on that level. Sorry, go on.
Then Timeshare, which is a Netflix Mexican film, kind of reminded me a bit of The Lobster. Like not quite as weird. But unfortunately, but like kind of the same sort of uneasiness, same just like it kind of feels like it's not our world, but it nearly could be kind of thing. So it's this family like goes to sort of like it's sort of like a discount resort, and then like find out another family has been scheduled to share this. To share the same condo, and so it's not clear whether this was a mistake or intentional. And it's sort of basically looking at how I guess
society breaks down.
Well, I guess it's kind of, I suppose maybe not unlike Sorry to Bother You. It is looking at kind of like the way we're kind of this sort of commodification of like just I guess like living together, like or maybe I'm not explaining it that well. But
no,
like,
I get what you're saying. It sounds very high concept and sort of lofty, and I didn't know it was Netflix. I wouldn't mind seeing that now.
Yeah, no, it's
that'll be my Christmas watch.
There you go. So it's I mean, maybe you should watch it instead of me trying to poorly describe it. Because I suppose it also probably hasn't been seen that much, so maybe best not to give it away. So then I suppose moving to my like top side. As I said, the Little Stranger, Black 47, Sorry to Bother You. So then I have like, are we going to talk about the 3 we haven't mentioned yet then?
Are you finished with 7?
That was
okay,
7.
right. Yep, go for it, you want.
Okay. I suppose I'll go for like probably my favorite of the year, which is Unsane. I kind of felt like this was going to be.
I feel like you've been championing this for like 2 years at this point, but it's been less than a year. I know.
I thought. I guess I'm often wrong about these things. I kind of thought it was going to be like a bigger movie than it was.
It didn't get much of a release, I think, was the main problem.
Maybe not. I kind of saw it as being quite similar. Like, well, I thought it was going to be this year's Get Out, and then Sorry to Bother You was this year's Get Out. Yeah. So I think it was sort of a little bit unfortunate in that way. But I mean, it was very much a me movie. I think that's how you described it when we were talking about it. But
did I say that?
Yes.
I'm apologizing now for that, but I don't know what the context of the movie.
Well, no, like to be fair, I mean, the movie, it's about this woman who like, just goes to counselling for like just a general checkup on her mental well-being, and is essentially told like, oh, you signed a contract when you came in, you're not getting out now. And it's Steven Soderbergh's like a scathing look at like in health insurance in America, alongside other things. But I mean, it is totally a me movie, because it's just about like trying to escape from entrapment, which it's sort of something that like interests me a lot. And as I was also saying, or I was also suggesting, it's very much like an update of like very, very classic Gothic tropes, which I also really love.
Here's my question about that movie. It's going, well, okay, I won't spoil it, but I'll be vague about this.
Okay.
Did you like or hate the fact that what she thought was happening? Do you think it was weaker for not being in her head or not? I can't judge if I like it or not. I don't know.
No, I totally love that. Because I feel like I kind of feel like, especially women, like imagining things that aren't happening is kind of overdone. I think I feel like we have to believe women.
Good segue.
Yeah. No, I very much thought it was
from that point of view. Yep, that's okay. You sold me on that one.
Yeah. So I could go on about it all day, but
the clock's ticking. So
yeah. Do you want to?
Oh yeah. So why not? What were my 3? Okay, Assassination Nation, which is really hard to say, and I hate that title, is a film which, again, actually is really trashy looking from its trailer, and I assumed that I would sort of be ambivalent towards it because it looked like a sort of kick-ass but with like a social conscience. I thought it'd be very on the nose and very self-congratulatory and whatnot. It's not what it is, but it's also... It's not really about the message, which is quite obvious, of just rape culture is shit and women have it really hard and patriarchy is a pile of balls. Like, yeah, these are pretty obvious, but it's the sheer force of its anger is just so satisfying. Did you see it?
No, that was like a movie I was trying to get to, but I think it wasn't in cinema very long.
No, it was gone really fast. I think I saw it on a whim almost, and just was blown away. But also that's the thing, like, it's not just that it had a message of anger that I was very much behind. It's also that it's got a really good score, the direction is really overwrought. There's a home invasion sequence which is about an 8-minute unbroken tracking shot like around the outside of the house, so that people are coming into it and stuff, and it's probably like the single tensest thing I've seen all year in a film. Like, there's a great tracking shot in Halloween which is also really good, but this is so much better than that. And I think if the film, it doesn't, how to describe this, like it's trying very hard to be woke, and it is quite woke, because like the 4 main characters are all girls, it's 2 white girls, 1 black girl, 1 trans girl, but they're never tokenized. Like, it's never like, here's the sub story about like the black character, here's the trans character's very trans based storyline, and like those things are there. Like, there's a bit near the end when it all goes to hell and there's sort of lynchings happening and stuff, and attempted lynchings, whatever. And like the trans characters, obviously it is sort of trans issues that are at stake, but the film never has any of the bullies misgender her, which I thought was interesting. So, which kind of lets you know that like the film isn't doing this to be exploitation-y. Like, it's very much still on the side of these characters. It's just it's the first film, I think, of this sort of post-Me Too era, even though it was probably in production before that happened. Because I know people said Halloween felt very post-Me Too as well, which I can see the reading of and don't disagree with. But this felt like the most righteously angry and the most like satisfyingly so. And it's a very exploitation-y film, and yet it just lands so much better than I think those films usually do. And I can't quite put my finger on why it did, but I just thoroughly loved it. And it's great.
Nice.
And everyone should watch it.
Yeah, no, I will definitely try and see it now. Another Christmas movie, it sounds like.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, should I go for my... this is probably was maybe my second favourite movie of the year, which is a Sicilian ghost story.
Oh, so I missed that.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, like... funny, I saw it without knowing that it's based on a, like, real real horrific event, which I'm not sure whether that, not saying that added to it, but it like when I then found out, it sort of packed an extra punch. But yeah, like I don't know, like there's really, I can't think of any other film that's like it. Maybe Pan's Labyrinth. But yeah, like, so it's looking at, as I say, it's a real event. It was the Sicilian mafia kidnapped and killed a young boy because his father was an informant. And this is sort of like an attempt to sort of, I think it's like an attempt to give his life some sort of closure, or just like maybe imagine, just sort of like and imagine that he could have had happiness before he died. Like it's really sad and bleak, but also really it's like very beautiful as well.
It sounds a little bit like just Ghost Story. Do you remember last year or the year before? Like not exactly like that, but it doesn't sound entirely dissimilar to it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I felt like that was a bad movie, but
I didn't know that one
see
either.
what you. Yeah, no, like I mean, I think that was probably what it was attempting to do, and it's it does this really good thing that I think that Pan's Labyrinth does as well, is like the child characters. So it's Giuseppe, who's the kidnapped boy, and then his like girlfriend who's trying to find out what's happened to him, that they kind of get agency through their like imaginations, through like their sort of fantasies that they might be able to meet each other again. And it's I came out of it being far too like feeling far too uplifted considering the subject matter, which I feel like I don't know how that happens, but
that's a compliment.
Yeah, no, I think so. Actually, I guess it's another movie that I don't want to like give too much away because it deserves to be seen. There's very little that's quite like it, and I just thought it was amazing.
That's what you sound. I'm dying to see it. Right, my other. Yes, this is second to first. It's not really my second film, best film of the year, but whatever. Tully, which is another Jason Reitman, Cody. What's her face movie? Cody.
Yeah.
Diablo Cody.
Yes.
Cody's not her first name. Diablo Cody, yes. Charlize Theron. It's sort of just a film about a middle-aged, not middle-aged, what's Charlize Theron, mid-40s? So, not quite... is there a name for that gap of your life where it's like pre-middle-aged?
Invisible.
Essentially, yes. But like her going through motherhood and just being stressed out and annoyed that she has no friends and being stuck with babies all the time, and then they hire this like live-in nanny who's Tully. And it's just, I don't know, because the whole way through there's a kind of a tension because they keep hinting towards something, like my brain being the film studies thing it is now is like screaming at me like, look at all these like signifiers, something is wrong here, but I couldn't quite place what it was, and then at the end I was like, oh, that's what it was. Okay. That makes perfect sense. So even like song choices, like, oh, of course, so obvious. Wow. So that's why I love it, and like the construction level of it, because it actually is quite clever and quite subtle, and well, maybe it's not, maybe it isn't that subtle, I'm just an idiot, who knows. But I thought it was great. Charlize Theron is wonderful. She's always wonderful, but she's really good in this. She's just so sympathetic as this sort of overworked mother character, but she's also quite charming and funny. And the Tully character, who is played by, I've forgotten her name, so I won't even go near it. It's not Mackenzie Davis, but it's someone with Davis, or maybe it's Mackenzie Davis. Anyway, she's also great, and their relationship I could have watched like hours of. Like this them hanging out was just really engaging and funny and nice, and like Charlize Theron just like reminiscing over her life and being sad that she's not like 20 anymore, and Tully being like, oh, it's not that great being 20 either. It's just a really nice film. And then I'm not going to spoil what happens at the end of it, but the thing happens and it reveals what's actually going on, and it really annoyed me because it sort of spoils the good stuff. Well, it doesn't spoil it, but it means that everything you've watched is now tainted in some way. And I was like, that's really annoying, but also I can't say it's a left turn because it's really heavily telegraphed that it's going to happen. But sort of like Hereditary, it does have that moment of the end going, damn it, if you hadn't done that, I'd like this more. But then again, I can't hate it for that being the point. Like that's what it's leading to. So it's hard to talk about in vagaries, but it's great.
That sounds extremely compelling.
It's a thoroughly enjoyable, very low-key drama. It's kind of like Lady Bird if it wasn't as obnoxious. I don't mean that in like a really insulting way. I like Lady Bird, but like it doesn't feel as obnoxious as that. But I feel like it's on a similar kind of level of a similar kind of person. If that makes sense. I don't know, but it's great. It's good.
Okay. So I think my last one now is
this your film of the year, or is this
no, this is...
Oh, you did reverse order, didn't you?
Reverse order. So this is the worst movie now. This is Love, Simon. Yes. Which that was another movie I did not expect to make my top 10, and I actually saw A Quiet Place the same day, and I was like, oh, it really did not expect, like I expected A Quiet Place to be the much better movie, but there you go. It's sort of a John Hughes So it feels like a modern version of John Hughes movie with the main character is like in the closet in high school, and so yeah, I mean a lot of the film revolves around both his like, you know, sort of wondering should he come out, how will he do it, and also he like makes contact through email with another gay student who he doesn't know who it is, so it's also about trying to find who this person might be. So I mean, I did think it was going to be, and I think it's in some ways it is kind of twee and annoying and straight, or like a straight version of what being gay might be like. But what I really admired about it was it sort of aligns coming out, not with like being different, but with coming of age.
Okay.
Which I like. Just I don't know. I found that really quite clever. Again, for straight audiences, like I don't think it would have really be of any use to people who are gay. Like, to be honest, I mean, I'm not saying that they wouldn't find it an enjoyable movie, but I don't think it's going to teach them anything. And I do also I'm also kind of concerned that what I'm nearly ultimately implying is like, you know, oh well, these characters could pass for straight, so that's helpful, which is not.
But the fact that you're aware of that means okay.
Yeah, I guess so. Like what I thought was really clever is that this Simon, he goes to he's in a very liberal school. His parents have very little resistance to whatever he wants to do with his life. But the point is like it not that means that like coming out should suddenly be easy, you know, like, and there's sort of one of the plots that goes on is like that this other character is threatening to out him.
Right.
I guess what I admire about the movie is that the movie isn't sort of like, well, since everyone's fine with homosexuality, coming out should be fine. You know, like it's still a very personal journey that no one else should dictate to a person. So I guess I thought it was very clever that it was able to do that in like a very sort of
twee,
like not really kind of other than that, not really sort of trying to go out of the box very much. So I mean, I basically hope that I've now explained why I find a movie that's like problematic in quite a lot of ways also quite interesting.
I think you made a fair case. Yeah, okay. I didn't actually realize that's kind of, I knew of it, I still haven't seen it yet. I kind of knew the vague plot to it, but I didn't know it was that sort of stuff. That's cool. That does sound interesting. I wouldn't mind. Yeah. Okay, so my last one, which is my actual film of the year, is You Were Never Really Here. I love Lynn Ramsey. We Need to Talk About Kevin is like my favorite film of this century probably so far.
Amazing.
I think we said this before we started recording that it wasn't fun to watch.
Yes.
I definitely don't think it's a fun film to experience. In fact, it was a deeply disquieting cinematic experience. I wanted to stop the whole time. It was kind of dreadful, but that's just testament to how good it is, I guess. The way, and this happened with Talk About Kevin as well, in that the way she uses editing, well, it's probably not her editing, whoever edits her films, it's an incredibly subjective way of evoking memory, or in this one especially, like PTSD. It just feels so visceral and so, like, I don't know, I never experienced PTSD, but I felt like I was experiencing it while watching this movie, and it was just awful and scary and bad. And I do get what you're saying and agree with you that it is very much one of those men can't have emotions, so they've, you know, covered themselves in the blood of 5 other people first and they can cry. But again, it's certainly not Mandy. It's not glorifying that. It's very much like, this is a broken human being, and he's a necessary evil in this one situation where they have to rescue this one girl, but like he wants to die and the world wants him to die and he shouldn't be alive. And I'm really not selling this film, but it's just it's a technical thing on the one hand. Like, the editing I just think is so incredible. Great performances, the direction, it's really scary. Like, it's really scary the whole way through it, even though it's not necessarily a horror film. I was thoroughly impressed by it on like every technical level, and again, just aside from maybe the moments after the child's death in Hereditary, it's probably just the most involved I felt watching a film all year, and just the most the most I want is run screaming from a cinema, basically, which is the high praise, I'm guessing, in this situation.
I think so.
And it's been voted Film of the Year by Film Ireland, so I feel vindicated in that fact.
There you go.
So, I think that's us done. Do you want to quickly run through some worsts, or will we leave it there because we've been negative enough?
Ooh, well, I feel like it would be remiss if we didn't say something about Ready Player One.
I think we've been building towards that for over a year, so it probably is safe to say. Now, I'm going to go on a limb here and say it's actually not that bad of a film. The book was so much worse.
Yes.
The film is... Every awful spiky corner of shitness in that book has been smoothed off. It's a fairly inoffensive watch. It's a bit dull, too long, but I didn't feel as bristling with rage as I did while reading the book.
Yeah, agreed. Although I thought there was two points where
please go on.
It actually like nothing to do with the book, so it like actually created its own very not good elements.
Oh yes.
So one of them, and my main gripe was, what's his name? Wade Watts.
I think so. Yeah.
His girlfriend.
We remember that name, but we forget the name of like esteemed directors and actors galore.
Yeah, we have priorities. But so his girlfriend in the film is actually probably almost too competent. Like, she's really good at everything, which is not a bad thing. But in order to restrain her, in order to ensure that she isn't actually better than him, he shoots her. He kills her twice. In game, yes. But he shoots...
Twice? What's the first one? I can remember the second one.
Like, very early on. I can't even remember, like, what the conceit is. But essentially, like, he has to save her, for whatever reason, he has to, like, ensure that she's not in the game world anymore. So... Because it's something like she'd lose all her coins or something.
All right, granddad, watching the video game film.
Yeah. But like, yeah, for some reason he has to dispatch her, so he shoots her. And
I remember the big battle at the end where he has to kill her because she's in the wrong body, but I can't remember what's the second one. Okay, this might go on.
That is the second one, but he's done it before for some other stupid reason. But it's like, I understand it's in game and she will go back to the real world and be alive, but like, how appropriate is it to have a movie where if the protagonist kills his girlfriend when, like, you know, in case you don't like read the news or anything, like, men shoot their girlfriends all the time. Like, this is a big problem with men shooting women. Yeah. So like, I just don't like, it just disgusted me, to be honest. Like, just this whole thing of like possessing women one way or another, like, and to be fair, that isn't actually one place that the book went. So, you know, that pissed me off.
Like, the one thing I thought about her character, so I thought that I would have hated it more, except that I really like Olivia Cooke. I think she's so good in everything she's in. Like, she was so good in Bates Motel, so I just love her. And I was annoyed she was in. I was like, crap, why is she in this? I really like her. So I just liked that character because I had to. But I kind of prefer the book version, because in the book version, even though I think she's written to be more of a quote-unquote bitch, and that he's meant to, or we as an audience or readers aren't supposed to like her because she's too sound. I much preferred her in the book because she had much more agency and she didn't give a shit about him and just did her own thing. This is much better. Whereas the film made her much more of a romantic
and
second fiddle to him that had to follow him around and think he's fucking Jesus.
That's totally fair. I just wish they didn't shoot her.
That too is, now you've said it, really bad. I don't even remember one of those shootings, which is especially terrible. The other thing about the film that annoyed me was the Shining sequence. Purely because it just felt so weird and bad, and it felt like sacrilege to have these fucking giant, dumb-looking anime characters lumbering around what was actually very technically impressive in terms of how they rendered it and how they did that whole Overlook Hotel sequence. But then you got like the giant lady with the axe and the maze, and I'm like, this is bad. The Room 237 sequence with the naked old lady, that was really well, carefully edited and shot, and again, it was really impressive, but it just felt so wrong to have it in there.
Yeah,
and it just,
you're right.
Cinematic sacrilege, hated it. Is that your only worst of the year? I've got a couple, but we don't have to do them.
Well, I mean,
Red Sparrow.
Yeah, Red Sparrow. Red Sparrow was just very, very, like, poor. Like, the only way I can kind of... So it's actually, it was apparently the one of the directors of the Hunger Games movies.
Yes, it was the guy that made this. I think he's also called something Lawrence.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I was like, is Jennifer Lawrence related to him?
Yeah, I don't think so.
The arts, no. Yeah. But like, it's sort of like, and actually, this is what I say in my Turkey of the Year, so you can catch it on the website. But like, it's sort of like someone said, I really want to see the Hunger Games made again, but instead of about violence, it should be about like sexual assault. Like there's an extended, there's a fairly large segment of the movie where they go to, I guess it's sort of nearly like a Kingsman Academy, but it's like for sex. And there's a really horrific scene where I guess the academy is just trying to like break people, and they're telling this girl to get on her knees, and I'm kind of like, who is this for? In what reality is anyone supposed to like, get any entertainment or like think that this is in any way clever or intellectual, or like it's just gross shock value, and I don't understand I really don't understand who this film is for. Like it's
well, no one seemed to like it, so I guess ultimately it was for no one bar the director. And I hope he's had some sad crying wanks to it or whatever he wanted out of that movie. Yeah, it sounds the more I hear how bad it is, the more I kind of want to watch it just to see, but I also don't want to watch it because I know it'll probably be horrific to watch from everything I've heard about it.
What any other movies?
So there's two which I'm not really arguing through all. There's two ones that are terrible, and one that is sort of my best worst of the year, like my worst best, whatever you want to call it. I think everyone's heard about Gotti at this point, which is the John Travolta starring biopic of apparently real mobster John Gotti. I'd never heard of him before this film came out. Apparently he was a big deal in the real world in like 80s New York crime. Whatever. It is dreadful. Everything you've heard is true. The 0% Rotten Tomatoes is justified. It's not so much that it's trying to do Goodfellas in 90 minutes. Like, it's doing a similar thing of jumping around. It's like it's trying to do 6 seasons of Sopranos in 90 minutes. Okay. It's just running through plot points, and it switches time zone like backwards and forwards almost minute to minute. There's so many different wigs and hairdos and prosthetics. That's actually quite well done. All that stuff in John Travolta. It's dreadful. It's not really laugh out loud bad in many places. Like, it's not really a funny watch, but it's if you understand editing and pacing and structure, it's very funny then. Okay. Because it's just so badly done and mishandled, and it took years to make. And then like the title song in the credits is by Pitbull and Leona Lewis. Remember her?
Wow.
Like, why are they together? Dreadful. The other quick terrible one is Robin Hood, which no one is surprised that's bad. It's kind of impressive how bad it is. It's trying so hard to be cool that it's almost entertaining. It's quite funny, unintentionally. Ben Mendelsohn plays the one character he always plays now, just that one villain that he plays in literally everything. The Robin goes to Iraq bit's pretty funny, where they go to the Crusades, and it's shot like a modern like Zero Dark 30 or the Hurt Locker kind of movie. And everyone's holding their bows and arrows like machine guns, and it's just so weird. And it's just, why not make this film but set it in the modern day? Like, just change it. Why did you bother with the time thing at all? You want to make a modern movie? Terrible, quite funny. I'll skip that one because you know it's bad. Best worst of the year though is a film called Final Score, which got a lot of posters and then never got released in cinemas here, which is really weird. It came. If you have Sky, it's one of those. It's, remember Hurricane Heist last year, which was a simultaneous Sky movies and cinema release. This is one of those, but it didn't actually get the cinema release for some reason, even though there was posters and buses ads for it all over the place. So it's Die Hard, but in a football stadium. If you watch the trailer and laugh a lot at it, which you should, that is exactly what the film is. It doesn't disappoint. It is Die Hard but football. It's Dave Bautista trying to find Pierce Brosnan, who is the MacGuffin. He has a terrible Russian accent. There's a football match happening, and Dave Bautista is like wrapping motorbikes over it and like swinging across the stadium, big ropes, screaming atop his lungs. The football match never gets stopped. It's baffling. There's terrible Russian accents. There's soliloquies about daughters being chickens. There's all kinds of great fights in kitchens with frying pans, and it's absolutely wonderful. It is shite of the highest order. And everyone should watch it because I want like 5 sequels. I don't know what they do. Maybe he goes to America, to an American football game. It's very, because it's made by English people, but it's clearly made for an American audience. So they're treating soccer as a very complicated thing. And hard to, it's great. It's so good. Wow. It's bad. So yeah, I guess that's 2018 in conclusion.
Yeah, not a bad year, but some
Not a
bad movies.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't want to say a good year for movies, bad year globally. And
Oh yes.
socially, heck, and everything else
Yes.
quite terrible.
That's very true.
But here's to a worse year next year
Yeah.
when I guess shit really hits the fan. Probably.
Yeah, but you know,
There's another Avengers movie, so
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, is there anything you're planning to see in the new year or before?
Well, speaking of films that will probably be in next year's version of the Oscar list for this year, The Favourite, which I'm really dying to see, but isn't out here until January 1st, I think. But it's going to be one of those Oscar films for this year that'll be released next year for us, which is irritating. That's all that springs to mind immediately. There's more stuff coming out, I'm sure. I don't know. But yeah, The Favourite's a good one for the moment. What about you?
I think I'll probably be seeing Old Man and the Gun.
I've heard it's lovely. I heard it's nice.
It's sort of like this thing. It seems to be like everyone in my family wants to see it to a certain degree, so we're going to it for our Christmas movie. So that'll be nice. I would like to see Into the Spider-Verse.
Definitely do.
This does sound very compelling.
It's a good time.
And yeah, I'm sure there'll be loads more that I can't think of right now, but that I will see.
There's a new Hellboy movie. Other better films.
Can only hope.
So thank you for listening this long if you did indeed.
Yes.
I'm sure this was far too long. See you on the catch side.
Yes.
Flip side? That's not the phrase.
See you next year.
Bye.
Bye.